Right, so I think we're up to 7 o'clock, so I think we could start a regular meeting. So let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
God, we thank you for gathering us together as a community. Pray that you watch over service department, police departments. Hope that we honor you in all that we do.
Call the roll, please.
Here.
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 All right, moving on, looking for a motion regarding the minutes of the February 23rd, 2022 Finance Committee.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
By Mr. Fenstermaker, second by Mr. Smolik. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, moving on, minutes of the February 23rd, 2022 council meeting. I'm looking for a motion, please.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smolik, second by Mr. Ziegler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, moving on to department reports, Chief Hutton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Formal report was sent out. You should all have that. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now until the budget is approved. And I have kind of a funny, not funny story. Last week, I went to a job fair at the Lakeland Community College. It was kind of a job fair open house at the Lakeland Community College for their paramedic EMT programs. They sent out a flyer to the West End fire chiefs, so we went out. So we went there. There were actually 7 fire chiefs with applications for all the students and 4 students for all of us. So, but the good news is I met with Mr. Slabniker today, compared numbers for the part-time pay increases, and things look good, and we should be able to do the raises that we had discussed. Budget meeting. Thank Mr. Slapnicker and the mayor for that. Other than that, I'm open for any questions.
What was the pay raise again?
It varies, but what it does is it tops out our paramedic at $20 basically for a class 1. We did include some longevity stipends in there for 10 and 20 years as part-time. And then the lower classes will move up at a 2% pay increase. We really wanted to get the high number for the firefighter experienced guys up to that $20 so we could be competitive with the neighboring community. Very good.
Good.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Callister?
Thank you. Sent on my reports as well. Calls were down slightly last month, mostly due to patterns that kind of slowed down traffic and some of the other things that we do on a regular basis. Wanted to touch real quick on the CPI program, the community of cars we've been dropping off garage doors and things in the city. Had a lot of positive feedback on that. Phone calls from residents thanking us. We cards in the mail, and part of that program, we just recently sent Officer Julia DeWolf to Crime Prevention Specialist School, and what that does is it gave her some specialized training, being able to do security surveys for residences, churches, so she can help them to basically find issues that might make those facilities or residents more susceptible to crime and help them basically isolate those things and figure out how to fix them so the structure's more safe. And then the last thing, we just closed our applications for the opening. And we basically have 4 applications at this point that we're going to look at and move forward on with background checks to see if we find a candidate. I'll conclude my report.
Questions? None. Mr. Courtney?
Thank you. We'll start off as usual with Old Town Sewers. 100% plans and specifications, estimates were submitted to Lake County Department of Utilities today. We keep getting, we're continue finalizing the assessment list. Have a couple stragglers out there that still have 2 assessments technically on their property that waiting to hear back if they're going to deed restrict their property or they're going to take the 2 assessment. And 3 easements that are needed. Easement documents are in the homeowner's hands. And I've been speaking with them, answering questions to get the easement portion moving forward, continue it moving forward. We have a meeting scheduled with Lake County tomorrow, go over project schedule and progress. So at the next meeting, we should have a pretty good idea on what the actual schedule of the project is, bidding and construction. Street rehabilitation and maintenance. Resolution 22R18 on tonight's agenda is authorizing the design of the road program for this year. The sooner we can get that passed, the better. The sooner we can get started on doing that. And I think I went over what streets were in the program at the last meeting, so I'll spare repeating that. 10-year road plan update has been made. I shared it with Joe. Joe and I haven't been able to connect to review that and make any final adjustments. Hopefully that'll happen here in the next week or 2, and we'll have something for the next meeting. That concludes my report. Happy to take any questions.
Questions from Courtney? Thank you. Mr. Slapnicker?
Thank you, Council President. I know you guys have heard me talk quite a bit over our last couple meetings, so I'll keep my report short. The January 2022 end of month reports were distributed and have been posted to the city website. We've had the basic financial statement audit begin. The auditor actually from the state auditor's office was on site today. We're progressing within our gap conversion for our basic financial statements. And the mayor and I actually had just discussed when we had our work session for the budget, based on those couple changes that we had on the revision number 1 sheets that I sent out to council, council would have to amend for that here tonight. Just wanted to give the heads up on that as well. That concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
How long does the audit generally take on this?
They will conclude and issue their report by June 30th. That's the state's deadline. It's ongoing for a couple of months, just based on their schedules on when.
Generally, they come into here for what, a couple days then?
They come in here for a couple of days, move off site, perform some other items, go to other cities, things like that. So, yeah.
New system making it a lot easier for transfer of data, obviously, I take it?
It is, yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And they appreciate the new system as well.
Little slips of paper with pencil on it isn't usually a good thing then. Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. I guess over to you, Mr. Levin.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I don't have too much to report today. As you know, Monday night, you and I both received a communication from Ms. Wolf resigning her position. Just want to reiterate to council that it's you have 30 days from that date to set forth an appointed new council member from Ward 1. Otherwise, per the charter, it would revert the authority at that point to the mayor. So I know you previously discussed that, but I just want to reiterate that for council. I did speak with Ms. Carol Martz today and on Tuesday as well. regarding her project, the Parks Farm subdivision. And I know
Carol
she's been working.
Parks.
Carol Parks.
Who did I say? You said Marks. I'm sorry, Carol Parks with the Parks Farm subdivision. And I know she's been working hand in hand with Mr. Courtney, and she's been fantastic to work with. She is anxiously awaiting the excavation process. I think we're very close. She had a couple questions on bond, surety bond, cash bond, what have you. So I answered her question as it relates to that, and I think she's ready to rock. So that's exciting. I know I had to work with another attorney with a conditional use permit that was issued as well. All those proofs of compliance were finally addressed, and we got the response from the EPA on Monday. So Ms. Rowley was able to release that permit. I think aside from that, I have nothing further to add at this point unless you have questions for me.
Outside of the election, obviously, the city's still going to incur costs since it was done at the 11th hour.
Yes, sir. I was speaking with Mr. McDonald, Ross McDonald, the director of the Board of Elections, and he informed me, and I didn't even think of this, over the weekend, there was early voting that was available. So he had to have staff members sit in the Board of Elections during their normal, the normal full day, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, to be open just in case there were early voters that wanted to do that. He had to have his staff come all day Monday, set up. They had to come at 5 in the morning to open up the machines and have them ready to go. I know I was on the phone with Mr. McDonald at 5:15 or 5:30 Tuesday morning, just coordinating with him. He had to get his staff. So yeah, there was substantial costs that they incurred. Really, the only savings was, let's see, I know they finished their tear down. Just trying to think of time, right? The hours spent. We may have saved about 6 hours worth of staff's time. So
both the county and the city incurred costs of some sort in
well,
addition to that.
the county has their cost, then they bill us for that cost. So
Okay,
so that's how we're going to get the bill for that. I just don't know what that bill is at this point.
thank you, sir.
Yep.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Lallo. Mayor?
Thank you, Council President Rupel. I will try to be short for a couple reasons. One, just to be short. Secondly, it is my daughter's 22nd birthday. So if we got out of here a little bit early, that would be awesome. Yesterday, I had the privilege to present at the Western Lake County or Willoughby Western Lake County Chamber of Commerce over in Wickliffe. Myself and the other Western Lake County mayors had a chance to present before a pretty good room of people at the Normandy Party Center. So that was always a pleasure to be with those guys, be up there jabbing away with each other, and got some real characters. But all really good guys. We've had developed a really good relationship with those other mayors: Eastlake, Willoughby Hills, of course, and Wickliffe and Willowick. So that was good. Don't forget Shamrock Shuffle and Shenanigans. You got to better say it right. On 3/27 here at City Hall, 5K race, followed by 11 o'clock, there'll be a band, food trucks. Kiwanis has been generous enough to step out off the curb and take on a liquor permit to sponsor a beer truck. So thanks to everybody for their hard work. Thanks to Councilman Fenstermaker for offering his help the other day, and I know he's already connected with my wife to see what kind of help he can be. We talked about 22-0-19. The Courtney company authorized me to enter the contract with the Courtney company for the bid book. So thank you tonight. Hopefully we can get that passed. I'd like to thank the Board of Elections, as Mr. Lallo said, for their hard work, for what they did, and also their flexibility and latitude yesterday morning to call that audible or help us through that process. So thanks to their hard work. Eddie Eckert's going to be here at our next meeting. I know a couple of our councilmen won't be here, but Eric and I had talked about having an economic development committee meeting prior to that meeting. So I think with Eddie being up for a second reading, but then also we've been talking about an economic development committee meeting for a while, especially related to the comprehensive plan. So Eric, if you want to take that from here after I finish up my report. And I think that's it, and open for questions.
Any questions for the mayor?
Mayor, no questions, but I don't know if you've heard or not about Joe Erder, a longtime resident of the city of Kirtland. I just want to take a second. I know I should do it in correspondence, but just recognize the passing of Joe Erder. He was a hell of a man. I'm not afraid to say that on public record. Known Joe a long time. He's going to be dearly missed in this community.
Yes, no, thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Fenstermaker. Yeah, I think Joe's is as good of a guy as any of us would ever have met, and certainly his dedication to this community.
Yeah.
There's not many people like him, so thanks for bringing that up.
Absolutely.
How is the internet surveys going?
Oh, boy, thanks for bringing that up. I haven't checked the numbers today, but we're well into the hundreds on the internet broadband surveys. So I think that closes out, what did we say, the 25th, I think is what it said. So Teresa has been getting a ton dropped off at the community center, as well as up here, the paper copies. So that's working, right? Paper copies that went out in the Chronicle, and then having the ability to do it online as well.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Do I just propose a meeting before the next meeting
You can do it at the standing committee reports.
at the standing committee? Report?
So we're up to,
Did you want to ask Teresa? If she had any?
yeah, well, Teresa, did you want to offer anything about the senior center?
Any updates on the senior center at all that you'd like to speak about?
Sure, yes. We will be having our annual corned beef and a sold out lunch next week, which is always a crowd pleaser. This spring, we're actually hosting two of the other senior centers and a shared volleyball tournament. So if anyone's around, you can come cheer on Kirtland. We expect to win. We'll see if that actually happens. Good things are happening. People are very excited about the opening of the outdoor pickleball courts. They wanted to play today, but it was 30-something degrees, so we didn't take the net. Keep your eyes open and your emails for a city versus seniors pickleball tournament in May, by the way.
All right. Will Tony have an ambulance and medics there for that opening day?
For us, not the seniors.
Council covered on a comp claim if we're injured during that?
Mr. Law Director?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and one other thing, Teresa, we should probably
This is a waiver.
bring up. So thanks to Joe Smolik and Mr. Hamer and Teresa and Joe Finaro, and as well as another resident, Bob Genovese. There's been a lot of talk over the last few years to bring an outdoor market, so to speak, here at City Hall. And so the other night we met and kind of zeroed in on, I think they've zeroed in on some dates for some outdoor activities, markets, and a name. And the name, I think, is everybody agreed on, is called Bazaar Kirtland, Bazaar. And so Bazaar is obviously, Bazaar in that sense of the word is an outdoor market, right? So we're going to be inviting local vendors and businesses out to offer their wares, demonstrate to the community, or show the community what they have to sell. And so watch out for the dates on that. Couple of Tuesdays and a couple of Saturdays, correct?
We get one of the melon heads.
Sundays, I'm sorry. So anyhow, thanks to those guys for their commitment and hard work to make sure that happens.
You're welcome, but Mr. Fernauer on Teresa's area did a bulk of that work. They had a lot of that stuff lined up already. Fantastic work.
All right, thank you. Anything else from the mayor's report? Standing committee reports? Are there any standing committee reports?
I'd like to propose a meeting of the Economic Development Group as the head on the 21st, Monday at 5 o'clock. Does that work, Joe? 5 p.m.?
This going to be in conjunction with Mr. Eckert going to be there?
Yeah, he's going to be there.
Okay, this is 21st, you're saying, March.
21st of March. Schultz is in it as well. so,
Okay. What time do you
I'll
need,
ask-
sir?
I was thinking 5,
5?
because we have that second finance meeting at 6:30. Does
Oh, you're right, okay. Yeah, I'm good.
that work? 5?
5 o'clock, okay.
Yes. And then Denise, just ask Denise to help schedule that.
Denise, can you help schedule it?
Yes. I just need to know.
What was that?
I just need to know.
Purposes for the economic development group to meet over the 10-year plan.
There we go.
Can you say 5 p.m.?
Is that the comprehensive plan?
Correct.
Okay.
5 o'clock on the 23rd.
Okay, next on the.
Council President, I know Councilman Schultz isn't here, but we did decide on having a third finance meeting prior to the March 21st at 6:30. So I just wanted to make that known.
So 5 PM, econ development, 6:30, final finance, and 7 o'clock council. Joe, you bringing the pizza?
Here too.
Excellent. Good to go.
Please no,
Yeah, no, don't do
for the
that.
record.
Coke would be good.
All right, moving on then, correspondence, didn't receive any official correspondence this week.
Mr. Rupel,
Yeah.
I would entertain, just acknowledging the correspondence would be the letter of resignation from Ms. Wolf.
Okay,
Yeah,
Just-
just,
all right. Mr. Leno corrected me, we received a letter of resignation from Ms. Wolf this week. Moving now to public comments on matters that are not on the agenda. This is an opportunity for the public to come up forward. If you decide to do so, please give your name and address. And this is for public comments on matters that are not on tonight's agenda. All right, not seeing anyone coming forth. We'll move on to old business, public comments on agenda items of old business. Does anyone from the public like to come forward on anything about agenda items of old business? Excuse me. All right, seeing nothing. Ordinance number 22-0-12, second reading. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of 3,603,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of retiring, together with other funds available to the city's outstanding street improvement notes, Series 2021, dated April 21st, 2021, and various purpose notes, Series 2021, dated June 16th, 2021, declaring an emergency.
Were we waiving the three reading or were we letting this go?
That can go all three readings.
Okay.
Moving on, ordinance number 22-0-14, an ordinance setting the appropriation for the year 2022.
And-
Resolution
Oh,
number 22.
Councilman Rubel.
I'm sorry.
This is the ordinance that would have to be amended based on those revisions that were made.
During the finance,
So on Monday night, we had, in our finance committee meeting, Lewis delineated a few of those changes related to,
Mainly the ARPA funding, when we had received that additional $1,400 that we built into the budget. So the original appropriation ordinance that was submitted to council back in February had a couple of changes and that I submitted for this agenda tonight. So as this second reading stands, that ordinance has actually since been changed for those adjustments.
so if I'm not mistaken, you would need a motion to amend ordinance 22-0-14 to incorporate the new exhibit,
Correct.
to substitute the current exhibit from the old.
Yes.
And then you need this passed tonight?
Doesn't need to be passed tonight,
Make
but
a
I,
motion to,
Just a minute, it's
just to amend it.
okay, all right. I'll make a motion to amend the ordinance.
Second.
You have to tell the
Just-
reason.
Or
just,
Yeah,
to
go through that detail.
substitute
To substitute
the new exhibit.
the new exhibit from the prior finance committee meeting.
Like your vows.
You like that?
we need one of those monitors you can read off like the president
I'm
just
sorry, I
does.
have a
and
motion for
mumble
Mr.
through it.
Fenstermaker. Do I have a second?
Second? Or no, sorry, Eric had
I
seconded.
seconded it.
Second by Mr. Ziegler. Is there any discussion?
And obviously, there's a chance it could be amended again if something else comes up between there, and that's unlikely.
If
but-
it were to be, it would revert back to a previous reading, though. That would be the only thing.
And then if that's the case, then you'd have to waive the 3 readings at that point. I think this has to pass by the end of the month, correct?
yeah, yes, by March 31st. And I'm not anticipating any additional changes.
All right, any further discussion? Mr. Rowley, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smollett,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Rupel,
Yes. All right, resolution number 22-R-15, second reading, a resolution authorizing transfers of funds and declaring an emergency. Last item of old business, resolution number 22-R-16, second reading, a resolution adopting the standard allowance of revenue loss pursuant to the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 and declaring an emergency. Moving on to new business, public comments on the agenda items of new business. And again, another opportunity for the public to step forward if they would like to speak regarding any of the items on the agenda for new business. Seeing so, no movement from the crowd here, moving on. Resolution number 22-R-18, a resolution authorizing the mayor to retain the services of the C.W. Courtney Company as engineers for the design of the 2022 street repair and maintenance project and declaring an emergency.
Motion to waive the three readings, please.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smolik to waive the three readings, seconded by Mr. Fenstermaker. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Ruppel,
Yes.
We're gonna make a motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt by Mr. Hamer. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Fenstermaker. Any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Ruppel,
Yes. Moving on to ordinance number 22-0-19, an ordinance extending the agreement for economic development consulting services between Edward J. Ecker and North Shore Associates LLC in the city of Kirtland and declaring an emergency. Ordinance number 22-0-20, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the upgrade of signal timing equipment on State Route 306, PID 114791, in the city of Kirtland and declaring, in the city of Kirtland, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Council President,
Yes.
I did hear from Mr. Fornaro, who does ask that this move forward today if possible.
Okay. Motion to waive the three readings.
Motion to waive the three readings by Councilman Smolik, second by Mr. Ziegler. Any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Ruppel,
Yes.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smolik, second by Mr. Ziegler. Any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Ruppel,
Yes. All right, we're down to council comments. Any council have comments they would share this evening?
For the, we're going to put that on the website for the council person then? And we got to set a date then on it then? Did we set a date at all, like the closeout date?
You may, I mean, you may want to discuss that at this point. It's
Right,
a- it's an
I think
opportune time.
we had a little bit of discussion that we would like for the opening in Ward 1 for candidates to, we submit their name to Ms. Rowley, and then we will have a meeting at 6 PM on March, was it 28th?
March 28th is what we said.
At 6 PM, and to meet with the potential candidates.
And do we close that out then at the 25th, end of the business day, the 25th Friday then, or?
That's a good idea. Well, I mean, that's, you can.
All right, well, then we can ask
Yeah.
for submission till the 25th. Is that something, who would end up putting that on the website for us?
Not me,
Matt?
but Teresa would help us, I'm sure. So if
Does
you
that
want to
only-
draft,
She's just,
Kneeling down, I see
she's
her. now.
just,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, there you go.
Jeff,
Mr.
do you
Lavelle,
wanna-
does that just, that needs to go just on the city website as suffice?
Yeah, you could put it on the city website, you could put it on like Facebook, you could,
Technically,
you
it's
know,
not on, doesn't have to be on.
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
yeah.
yeah, is there,
There's no requirement.
So we can put it on the Facebook website also that states, you know, positions open if you're interested. Please send-
Absolutely.
I would recommend limiting it to the city Facebook, site only, or
Well,
the city site.
Yeah.
The city Facebook page gets shared, post gets shared quite often, so
as
when
long
you
as
do
it's on the
that,
city Facebook page.
is there I guess the question is there a limit to how many you take if you do it that way?
I'm
Say 100 people come forward.
Yeah, say 100
Be a
people.
good problem to have.
Okay. Jeff, do you want to draft just kind of how you want it to read and send it over to me?
Sure. Just draft how I want the.
How you want it to read as far as an announcement goes?
Okay, that's fine, no problem.
We just hang a help wanted sign out in the window.
But oh, you know what? Council President, can I have the floor for 1 minute, whether it's now or right before adjournment?
This is called council comments.
I know. I did forget one thing.
Didn't you want to get out of here early?
I did, but it's important.
Are there any further council comments?
Not this time.
No.
All right, thank you. Mayor, floor is yours.
Yes. So real quickly, myself, Council President Rupel, Mr. Lallo, Mr. Dank, Chairman Dank from the zoning board, as well as Mr. Rick LeConte, zoning inspector, we met last week as a follow-up meeting to our zoning violation notices that went out the week before related to signs, temporary signs, and even some of the pole signs. And just sign ordinance in general. Anyhow, I did, from that meeting, direct Rick LeConte to, as far as the pole signs go, to send a notice back out to those that hadn't come into compliance inside of that 10 days to a notice that said, basically, we're going to give 90 days to come into compliance. And just so you guys all know how the process works in terms of changing a zoning law, zoning ordinance, I believe it stems from planning and zoning. Council can pass a resolution, I think, to ask planning and zoning to look at any given zoning law. So if council, has a desire to, because currently, so in 2004, the zoning board and city council passed legislation, passed an ordinance that said any pole signs in the city, basically, you had 5 years to take them down. It sounds like, well, we know that some it didn't happen for all of them, right? We still have some today. So fast forward to today, when we talk about zoning enforcement, code enforcement, signs in particular, Rick was directed, as we all know, to start addressing this after the new year, and that's what he did. So if there are any issues going forward, or if you guys have any desire to take a look at that, have discussions, I think there's obviously a planning and zoning committee of council. If they wanted to take that up and meet with planning and zoning board, obviously the stuff, it evolved. These ordinances came about for a reason and through a lot of vetting and discussion over many years. So be careful with any knee-jerk reactions to one or two requests out there. But nonetheless, I think it's fair that everybody has a chance to. And again, I think we revised the sign ordinance just last year, so everybody did have a chance to kind of have this refresh and take a look at it prior to passage. But nonetheless, now we've actually begun enforcing. So we've had some responses to that, I'll say. So anyhow, just so you know, that's the opportunity that the council has to bring this up and take another look at it. Quickly, I think, Denise, we've seen a lot of compliance rather quickly on the temporary signs. And have we had anybody come in to pick up file for a permit for the temporary signs? Yeah. Okay. So those that want to, and just so everyone knows, the temporary signs, the sandwich boards, we'll talk about those. If you want to put your sandwich board out in front of your location, you can do so if you get a permit, you can do so for 45 days, 3 different intervals, maximum of 15 days if that's how you wanted to do it, or just 45 random days throughout the year. So it does exist that they can have those under those circumstances. And again, if council wanted to and the zoning board wanted to entertain changes to that, that's how it would be done. But I wanted you guys to know that Rick was going to be sending out that additional letter.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else? I think we're down to adjournment.
Continuing concerns.
Continuing concerns. Hey, anyone from the public wishes to come forward regarding continuing concerns? Seeing anyone come forward, now we're down to adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hoover. Motion made by Mr. Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.